1853, just on 160 years ago, New Zealand further embraced parliamentary democracy by holding its first general election. 20 September this year will be the 52nd general election since that time, since New Zealanders went to the polls, since that watershed moment in New Zealand's democracy. On each of the 51 previous occasions, voters have chosen to familiarise themselves with the issues and the policies of the parties, chosen what to do and where to go on election day, chosen, no doubt, to gripe about the policies of the parties and the people who are elected afterwards. But on each occasion, a percentage of our electors has chosen not to vote. The percentage of voters who chose not to vote did not value their vote sufficiently to exercise that democratic right, that democratic privilege. They didn't honour what the Electoral Commission sees as their civic obligation to play their part, to have their say, to influence our country's direction and by participate in the electoral process by enrolling and voting. Worse, however you measure it, that percentage, although there have been odd blips in turnout upwards over time, that percentage has incontestably been steadily increasing since the end of World War II. The graph of our rate of voter participation shows overall a steep decline over most of that period, nearly now 70 years. The Electoral Commission's deep concern at our falling voter participation has led it to organise this conference today, valuing our vote, improving voter turnout in New Zealand. We have done that as part of our statutory duty to facilitate participation in democracy and promote public awareness of electoral matters. Should we be so concerned at the decline in voter participation in New Zealand? After all, the citizens of many nations would welcome any chance to participate in an election. Many other liberal-style Western democracies would simply say to us, you've joined the club of declining voter turnout. Nations such as Britain, the other members of the European Union, the United States, where turnout percentages fall well below ours, would simply say, you have no concern. We are envious of your voting figures. With a turnout of just under 70% 3 years ago, they may say to us, why worry? Your glass is still 7/10 full. Why are you worrying? But seeing voter participation, seeing the problem through a Kiwi lens, the Commission's view is that the decline in voting percentage, the length of that decline, and what may well be the accelerating decline are all indicators raising serious concerns about the health of New Zealand's democracy. Voting in New Zealand is, or should be, emblematic of our adherence to democracy. New Zealand's decline in voting percentages has been so persistent, so long-standing, so severe, that reversing it, we accept, will be a long process. But we all fervently hope that a means of steadying and reversing that tide will result from today's discussions. Democracy in New Zealand will be singularly enhanced if that is the outcome. How can that withering of participation best be addressed? Some aspects of lessened voting are, by research, shown to be beyond the Commission's power to influence. Tight contests involving possible changes in government increase voter turnout. Political parties and their members can play influential roles. The Commission can do nothing to create those situations. But the Commission is able to influence and bring about improvement in many other aspects of the electoral process. And valuing the vote, the aim is to build on our focus on these areas and, with your help, discover new ways and techniques to increase the number of voters to tick expressions of involvement in parliamentary democracy in New Zealand. Apart from such workaday matters as striving to improve our already internationally respectable enrolment rate and continuing to improve our what voters already see as a welcoming voting experience, the Commission has, for the first time, instituted a nationwide participation strategy, one aspect of which has been organising this conference today to garner further insights for improvement from today's distinguished New Zealand and international participants. Our keen hope is that today will furnish us, not just the Commission, but all those interested in refurbishing New Zealand's democracy, with new thoughts, new solutions on how to promote participation amongst electors, especially those electoral groups research shows are the hardest to reach. Those under 30, who may be politically active but are not electorally active, Māori, Pacifica, new migrant groups, families without enduring habits of voter participation. More broadly, the Commission hopes, as part of its role as one of the champions of democracy in our country, to revive a national discussion, including across government, on enhancing that democracy, on civics, on what it means to be a New Zealander in the early years of the 21st century. The Commission is grateful that so many, all of whom have deeply thought about the worrying decline in voter participation, have taken the trouble to be here today. The Commission is particularly grateful that our overseas guests excuse me, are able to be present. Professor David Farrell, a leader in this field whose reputation has preceded him to New Zealand, and Heather Smith, co-chair of the board of directors of the American organisation Rock the Vote, which has been so successful in mobilising the youth vote in recent American presidential elections. We all look forward to their presentations and contributions from the panellists and members of the audience in theirs and in all sessions. At that point, I initially was to introduce the Minister of Justice, the Hon. Judith Collins, to officially open the conference. Unfortunately, she has been unavoidably detained and won't be with us until nearly morning tea time. So it falls to me, as having the privilege of being the chair of the Electoral Commission, to formally declare the Valuing the Vote conference open.